Good afternoon. My name is Constable Andre Johnson, Public Information Officer with the Waterloo Regional Police Service. Thank you all for joining us today as we provide an update on the multiple stabbing incident that occurred yesterday on the campus of the University of Waterloo. Chief Mark Kroll will be providing an update on the investigation. Also present is James Rush, Vice President, Academic and Provost, and Karen Redman, Regional Chair and Chair of the Waterloo Regional Police Services Board. After prepared remarks have been provided, we will allow questions from the media regarding the investigation. Chief Kroll.
Thanks, Andre. Good afternoon. I'd like to thank you all for joining today as we provide an update into the major incident that took place yesterday on the campus of the University of Waterloo. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the victims of the attack, all the students, faculty, staff, and the University of Waterloo community who were affected by these senseless acts of violence. On behalf of the Waterloo Regional Police Service, we denounce all forms of hate in Waterloo Region and beyond, and we stand with those who are targeted by these crimes. I also want to take a moment to thank all those emergency services personnel who responded to the critical incident yesterday, including Waterloo Region Paramedic Services and the University of Waterloo Special Constable Services. Members of our Integrated Mobile Police and Crisis Team, IMPACT, those are our partners with the Canadian Mental Health Association, were on scene on campus throughout the evening yesterday and remain engaged throughout campus providing support. Today we are announcing that we have arrested Giovanni Villalba-Aleman, a 24-year-old male who was an international student at the University of Waterloo who recently graduated. He has been charged with the following offenses: 3 counts of aggravated assault, 4 counts of assault with a weapon, 2 counts of possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose, and mischief under $5,000. Mr. Villalba-Aleman was held in police custody overnight. A court appearance was held today and may still be ongoing, and we have recommended that he be remanded in custody. I want to take some time to walk through our investigation to date and provide some clarity on the circumstances that led to the devastating violence that occurred yesterday. At 3:37 p.m., our communications center received multiple 911 calls from students at the University of Waterloo advising that people inside a classroom had been stabbed. Thankfully and proudly, members of the Waterloo Regional Police Service immediately responded and arrested the suspect to quickly restore public safety and calm. Members of the WRPS Neighborhood Policing North Division Patrol were immediately dispatched to the university campus. The first officer arrived on scene within 3 minutes at 3:40 p.m. Officers were directed inside of Haggie Hall, where the stabbings had occurred, and they located the accused male within the building and placed him under arrest without further incident. Initially the accused had posed to be a victim. However, officers quickly identified him and placed him under arrest once he was identified based on the description provided. Since our initial response, we have learned more information in regards to exactly what occurred. WRPS investigators have determined that the accused specifically targeted a gender studies class in Haggie Hall at approximately 3:30 p.m. The accused was not a member of the class, but spoke with the professor in the classroom before attacking her with 2 large knives without provocation. Several students attempted to stop the attack, while others fled the room. While students were trying to escape, the accused stabbed 2 students and attempted to stab a 3rd student who was not physically injured. As a result of the attack, the following physical injuries were reported. The involved professor, a 38-year-old female, sustained serious but not life-threatening injuries from the stab wounds and was transported to an out-of-region hospital. 2 students within the class were injured. A 20-year-old female sustained serious but non-life-threatening injuries from stab wounds and was transported to an out-of-region hospital as well. And a 19-year-old male sustained non-life-threatening injuries as a result of stab wounds and was transported to a local hospital. In terms of the investigation that has been conducted thus far, investigators have reason to believe that this was a planned and targeted attack motivated by hate related to gender expression and gender identity. I'd like to stress that the investigation remains underway and some details have not yet been clarified. We appreciate your collective patience while this occurs. We have since sought judicial authorization to search the suspect's home to further our investigation. At this point, there's no information to suggest that the suspect coordinated with anyone else in carrying out this attack. At this point, our investigators are not ruling anything out in understanding the motivations behind this incident. And as always, we work closely with other policing and public safety partners, however necessary. The WRPS Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Unit has conducted outreach with effective community partners across Waterloo Region. It is both sad and disturbing that this incident has occurred during Pride Month, a time where we celebrate and recognize members of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. We hope that this incident does not diminish from these celebrations, but instead encourages us all to come together, to continue to celebrate and continue to inspire love over hate. Again, we extend our sincere condolences to all those impacted by this senseless act of hatred. Our members will continue to work tirelessly on this investigation to ensure that no further harm or threat exists and to bring closure to victims, the University of Waterloo, and the entire Waterloo Region community. Once again, I'd like to thank all members of the Waterloo Regional Police Service and all responding community partners who have worked closely with the University towards a safe resolution to this dynamic and traumatic incident. After we hear from Chair Karen Redman, who is the Chair of our Police Services Board and Chair of the Regional Waterloo Region, I will be available to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I first want to acknowledge that our hearts are with the entire University of Waterloo today, and I am especially thinking of the professor and the students in that class. On behalf of the Regional Council, I am wishing for a speedy recovery for all victims, as well as healing for all within the University of Waterloo community. Please know you have my support and the support of the entire Waterloo region. As chair of both the Region of Waterloo and the Waterloo Regional Police Service Board, I would like to start by acknowledging the incredible response by our first responders to yesterday's horrific attack. I'm thankful for how WRPS and other emergency services personnel quickly apprehended the suspect and provided immediate support to victims. Like everyone, I read the news of what happened yesterday with shock, horror, and a great deal of sadness. This community has been my home for my entire life, and I am proud that we are known internationally as a safe, welcoming, and inclusive place. Yesterday's violence is not Waterloo Region. It is not the community that we call home. This incident is a tragic reminder during Pride Month that as we celebrate our progress, the safety and well-being of some in our community is still in question. Today, we are one community standing strong behind you, and we hope for a quick recovery and healing. As this investigation is ongoing, I know WRPS will be thorough and meticulous. And again, I want to thank the staff, students, and community at the University of Waterloo for their response and the greater community for its support. While this is a shocking and horrific act, it must be denounced. We must make it exceptionally clear that hate or prejudice in any form is unacceptable. Gender-based violence undermines the dignity and the rights of all residents. Let's use our collective voice to speak out, promote inclusion, and recommit to the necessary and critical work to create a safe, welcoming, and inclusive community for absolutely everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Kroll, and thank you, Chair Redman. We will now open the floor up for any questions that you may have.
Chief Simon Dingley from CBC News. You mentioned the hate and the gender. Can you give us a bit more about that? I noticed you also mentioned, especially since it's Pride Month, did it have anything to do with the gay community? So the details we're forming right now. So we're being careful, but also quite direct, and we believe this was a targeted, specific attack related to gender expression and gender identity. And so, in absolutely, we're for the 2S LGBTQ+ community, we believe was targeted sort of broadly and at large here. We don't believe that the individuals themselves were targeted for that purpose, but we believe that the class subject was of interest to the suspect, and that was the origins of what's transpired.
You said he carried 2 knives with him?
Yes.
And also, can you tell us where he's from? He's an international student?
So I just want to be consistent with information that we have released. Have we provided that information to date yet? Okay, so just to be consistent, we have not provided the information. We will look forward to further follow-ups as time transpires. Yeah.
How many minutes from when the police first arrived, when was apprehended?
I don't have the precise timeline, but it was within minutes. You know, we were on campus and on scene within 3 minutes, and it was shortly thereafter. So we can provide a follow-up with that precise detail.
Sir, I understand there was a delay in the alert system going out to the students in the university. Can you, up to 90 minutes, can you confirm that and tell us about that?
I have no specifics about the alert system on campus there. So we have a member of the University of Waterloo here today who may be able to speak to that. But I'd just like to clarify that the Waterloo Regional Police Service has an integrated member on campus with the University of Waterloo who helps to run and also coordinate the special constable services. So from a partnership and a campus safety perspective, we believe that it is a safe campus overall. We believe that there are measures in place from a planning and a reaction standpoint that are in line with public expectations and our best efforts to provide a safe campus given its size and scope. So I know in speaking with policing partners across Canada that this has been a troubling and disturbing trend that we've seen, especially during Pride Month. I think we all know that there's a polarization in society right now, both online and in the real world, and there's conversations that are spilling over into everyday life. And so I can say that we have seen in our community a small uptick in events recently related to targeting the Pride 2S LGBTQ+ community and hate-motivated incidents, and we're absolutely focused on addressing those with the best efforts that we have.
Sticking with online, a couple of students that we spoke to, they said that they were hearing chatter about this attack. Is that something that Waterloo Region has heard, or is that something you guys are looking into now?
So I'm not familiar with any of the chatter. What I can say is there's a flurry of activity that does occur. I'm not aware from an investigative standpoint about information before this event took place, but certainly after, there's all kinds of conversations that occur online. So as part of a fulsome and thorough investigation, we take everything into context, and our investigators will not leave anything out. We will leave no stone unturned in ensuring that we have a full scope of understanding what exactly has happened.
And sorry, can you go into more detail? You said once officers arrived, he was pretending to be a victim?
Yeah, the information I have is that once the initial attacks occurred, that you can imagine a flurry of movement and activity, and that he sought to blend in and essentially to hide in plain sight, while we had responded, and sought to blend in with those who were also fleeing or present at the time. So thankfully, because of excellent witness information, we had a good description of who the individual was, and we were able to identify that was a suspect we were looking for.
So there was some intervention, some of the students who were, can you speak at all about what transpired there, or how they intervened, or what happened in that situation?
So from what I'm aware of, I believe it was a class of approximately 40 individuals. And once the attacks occurred, obviously it was of great concern to everyone there, shock. And there was those who were seeking to actively involve themselves to stop the attack, throwing objects. It's been described to me that some chairs and other objects were thrown at the attacker. So I don't have a full picture for exactly what transpired, but I applaud those who really sought to stand up and to intervene in the best way they could.
And were some of those the ones that were injured, the ones that intervened?
I'm not sure, Jeff, in particular. Yeah.
Chief, I'm sorry if you answered this, my apologies. Was he a student on campus, or was he not related to the school in any way?
So to the best of my knowledge, I believe that he was a student at some point. I can't speak to his active status in terms of his graduation or status on campus, but it's been described that he was a student at some point in time.
Are you able to elaborate a little bit more on how you found out that he was targeting the LGBTQ community? Is there something that he said or something that he did that made it clear that it might be hate motivated?
So to date, and there's certainly more depth to the investigation, which we'll look forward to sharing at a later date once we have a fulsome picture. But just the sheer notion that the class itself was a of a gendered studies or gender issues class. That was the title of it, to our knowledge. That we believe this was a specific and targeted purpose for him to be there. We have information that he inquired about the title or the subject matter of the class, and we believe that was with purpose. And the information that we're gathering to date lends us to believe, through the course of our investigation and including an interview with the accused, that that was his purpose, was to make a statement, was to purposely target that subject matter of gender identity and gender expression.
Chief, Jamie with CTV, I'm trying to decipher this clearly because it's, as we know, it's super emotional subject in their real life. Did he have an online presence that indicated also that he was hate motivated, or was it just a conversation he had with the teacher or the professor just prior to the attack?
So I'm not personally aware of any online activity. That's part of our investigation, and we look forward to potentially providing a follow-up response to that. What I can say that there was that exchange with the teacher in question that led us to believe that he was specifically interested in the class subject itself from an ideological perspective. And also, our investigators have sought judicial authorization for the subject's residence, as well as a deeper scope in terms of any material that might lend us to understand what exactly was the mentality, what was the purpose of what occurred.
Now, Chief, I understand. Sorry. I understand that there's an evidentiary value that is involved in that conversation, but the conversation he had with the professor as a victim, what was that nature without I know it's a fine line there for you, but to understand this fully, you have to kind of understand what that conversation
Yeah, I believe it was a short conversation just to understand and to verify the subject matter of the class.
So he asked
Yeah.
the professor,
What's the class? Yeah, something to that nature, yeah.
There was an answer, and then he just began the attack, nothing more after that?
Essentially, yes.
Was he known to police at all before?
He has no criminal record.
I understand there's an additional charge for him, a little bit from, I believe, about a week before. Can you speak about that at all and what that charge is about and relating to?
So I'm not, maybe Jeff, I've confused maybe something here. What I can verify is because there was an individual who was not physically injured, but there was an attempt to harm another individual, we've laid an additional count of assault with a weapon for the attempted assault with a knife on an individual who was able to escape from the grasp, but I'm not.
Is there a mischief charge as well?
So that's a portion of the investigation that we're still not disclosing at this point in time, related to an object that was destroyed, and we'll provide further information as the investigation unfolds.
You
Yeah.
said earlier there was an uptick in attacks against the community. Can you describe what some of those attacks have looked like in the region?
So what I can say is locally and also across Ontario and Canada, we've seen a number of pride flags that have been torn down, taken down in that manner, and that relates to to a mischief-related offense. And so I think you're all aware that there are hate-motivated incidents which may not reach the criminal threshold of a hate crime, and there's also hate crimes which reach that strict legal definition. But we have seen and heard across Canada that there is a disturbing trend of this sort of targeted mischief or destruction of property, specifically related to the Pride community. And we can provide some additional information in regards to the numbers that we've seen over the past couple months. Happy to do that. Yeah.
Sorry, my last one. So obviously you mentioned that how things have kind of been increased the last little while. So what's happening now on campus? Is there going to be an increased police presence for the next little while? Because obviously classes are still going on. And I don't know if you have a message for students that might be on edge with having something like this happen.
So we work very closely with our partners at the University of Waterloo, and just want to make it clear that we believe that we have addressed the threat immediately, and we have restored to the best of our nature, a sense of calm and safety to the campus and the larger community based on eliminating the threat of this individual. We have no reason to believe that there's any others related to this specific incident. In terms of any messaging to students and the larger campus community and the City of Waterloo and the region at large, we just want to reinforce, certainly extending our condolences that this has occurred. Chair Redmond spoke well about, the unacceptability of any act of hatred within this community, but our hearts go out to all those impacted directly, but those who are watching and listening and hearing that this has occurred in our community. It doesn't speak to our values as a police service. It certainly doesn't speak to our values as a region, and I think as society at large, that people will be in any way, shape, or form targeted for who they are, how they express themselves, gender identity, gender expression, or otherwise. So we certainly want to reinforce to all those impacted that we are here for you. As a police service, we will continue to work tirelessly to address this specific investigation, but also to address hate and hate incidents more broadly. And this is an important investigative avenue for us, where we will do everything we can to work with all community partners tirelessly to address issues of this nature.
How does the police investigation go about the spectrum of hate charges related to this?
So we work, on a couple levels. First is the initial response, and then we have specialized investigators that do the fulsome analysis. We have members that work in intelligence services that work with not only provincial but also federal partners working on hate crimes, online presence of those who may be of concern from an online perspective. So the course of this investigation will have a couple different phases. We'll analyze the information that we have at hand through the judicial authorizations, and we'll seek to ensure that there aren't any affiliations, any connections at a larger scale. When it comes to hate crime investigations, there's also a component of working with the crowns, whether provincial or federal, to look at hate incidents and hate crimes themselves, to understand the depths of what we're able to work from a prosecution standpoint. So it's all in partnership, and we'll look forward to providing further information as the investigation unfolds. We're still at an early phase, and we believe that our investigation will reveal further details that will be of interest moving forward.
Have investigators spoken to the victims at all? Like, can you say, outside of what their injuries are like, how they're doing and what they've said and how they're feeling about it?
Yeah, I'm very proud of our response, not only from an emergency perspective, but then there's the whole phase of providing assistance to victims and witnesses as well. The impact of trauma from violence, but even in a deeper sense, is part of what we and our community partners are dedicated to addressing. So we had certainly a presence throughout last night and into today on campus and beyond, conducting those interviews. We're interviewing quite a number of people to understand exactly what happened. But that's just the first phase. We then work with victim services and other partners to provide support. And because there's an equity, diversity, and inclusion lens to this, that's the additional outreach and work that we do as a comprehensive public safety service to ensure that there's deeper things to address here. There's the incident, and there's the total impact of what's occurred more broadly. And so very proud of our members and working with our community leaders and community partners to address this from a specific but then a broad level as well.
What happens with the accused now? You said that you're hoping that he's remanded in custody, but can you just kind of walk us through today and then what's next for him? Court appearance?
Yeah, so part of the timing of today was just staging this to allow the court proceedings to occur. So the individual was held overnight and then was available in court today for a bail hearing. At the time that I entered here today, I believe that the court proceedings were still being finalized. And so we made recommendations to remand the individual in custody, which is when something of this magnitude occurs, because we have continued investigative avenues to go down, that's a normal investigative or another normal recommendation that we make. And so we'll have to wait to see the official news from the court, and we may have that in short order to provide. Okay, I believe there's no further questions. I just want to thank all those who attended here today. I want to thank all those from the WRPS who brought together today. And we just want to reinforce our partnership with the University of Waterloo. I want to thank Chair Redmond and all community members and all members who have interest here today. This is a shocking and unacceptable event in Canada, in Ontario, and in Waterloo region, and we will do everything in our power to address it to the fullest extent. If you have any specific questions, yeah, Mr. Rush can address them. Yeah, yeah, sure.
You put out a statement about some of the concerns you have about the response to it. Can you just bring us up to date on what those concerns are?
Yeah, I want to reinforce what the chief said about the swiftness and coordination between Waterloo Regional Police Services and the on-campus constable services in responding to the incident and to bringing the incident to control. But on campus, we did have some concerns about the coordination of all the channels of communicating. So whereas some social media university-based accounts were putting messages out and the web-based communications were occurring, the coordination with our emergency incident alert system wasn't activated as quickly as we would have normally expected. And there are a number of reasons for that, but it's a priority for us in the aftermath of this incident to ensure that the coordination between the people elements and the technology elements of that system are more finely tuned in the future.
Is there a need for more security generally, or maybe specifically around certain courses that you taught?
Well, following on the chief's comments on the assessment of the safety of the campus, that'll be an ongoing point of vigilance, but the current assessment is because of the isolated and specific nature of the incident that occurred yesterday, that threat level isn't higher than normal, but is under constant surveillance. And again, the coordination between the WRPS through the liaison officer and other channels with the on-campus resources that are involved in providing the safety of the campus is a real asset in that continuous vigilance.
So could you just clarify how late or how quickly did the alert go out to the students?
So I'm not in a position to share the numbers of the minutes right now, because there were a number, as I said, there were a number of channels being activated. But I think the important point is that the location of the incident was localized and was contained rapidly. The communication that was in deficit would have been to the broader areas of the campus and the general awareness on the campus, which is a very unfortunate, there was a very unfortunate delay, but it didn't impact the response to the incident itself.
But was that delay as much as 90 minutes, as one report suggests?
I don't think that 90 minutes is the correct figure, but there was a greater than we would expect delay.
Has a crime like this happened on a Waterloo area university campus before, that's specifically targeting LGBTQ and gender related?
I think the chief and the police services might be in the best position to answer that question over the totality of history, but I think this is a unique event in terms of the scope and the nature of the targeting. Thank you.
Can you just give the spelling of your name?
Okay, that will conclude our media conference for today. For any updates on this investigation or others, we invite you to visit our media center. Thank you all for joining us.
Sorry, folks, just